Welcome to another episode of the Mentium podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. As I told you before, season 2 is all about stories of impact. And today is no different. I am excited to welcome a friend, a brother, Dwayne Meeks. Mr. Meeks is the father, a husband, a community leader, an author of the book that I am holding right now, Pieces Never Missing, Required in a Child's Life. I will put the link in the description for you to get his book. Dwayne is the founder of Urban Colors Fatherhood Experience, which is a leading fatherhood engagement organization dedicated to equipping fathers, practitioners, and community institutions with the tools and strategies to strengthen families and elevate fatherhood. With a 17-year legacy of impact, UCFX gives cutting-edge programs, consulting, and advocacy to ensure fathers are valued, supported, and integrated into systems that shape family success. Mr. Meeks' organization exists to empower fathers to be engaged, confident, and active in their children's life while working alongside organizations, policymakers, and community leaders to create father-friendly environments that fosters generational change. Without any further ado, Mr. Meeks, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, my name is Dwayne Meeks. And just a little bit of background, and then I'll tell you how I got started in this work. But I'm an award-winning fatherhood advocate, a leadership coach, speaker, author, and a visionary committed to transforming the lives of fathers, men, and boys. And for over 25 years, I've worked at the intersection of fatherhood, personal development, and leadership, and helping men and fathers break barriers, break generational cycles, and heal generational wounds and create lasting legacies in their families and their family foundation. I'm a man who believes that in the power of transformation. I'm a man who believes in second chances. I believe in a God that gives second chances.
Yes.
Mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. My work isn't just about programs and policies. It's about shifting mindsets, elevating perspectives, and creating pathways for people to realize their full potential. It's just that my focus is on men and fathers and boys, because I've seen the challenges and the traumas of men who haven't had the opportunity to transform their mindset, and they fell victim to the perils of societies. I've embarked on an assignment to spread this message, to help fathers advocate for themselves, to unlock their potentials, heal their wounds, so that they can be the healthy men for their families that they were called to be. Because it starts after God, it starts with the father. And then it's the wife, and then it's the family. If you want to dismantle a family, you start at the head. You start with the man of the house. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of our families are struggling, because men have been disconnected from the family. But a little from how I got started in this work, I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and a mom who raised 3 sons in the heart of Brooklyn, New York, back when it was New York has always been a dangerous place, but even so, back in the 60s, it was very dangerous. And for a woman of color to raise 3 sons in a ghetto neighborhood was typical, something that you saw very often. But she raised us, and my father wasn't present. I knew who my father was, but he was not involved in my life. He wasn't actively engaged. And then as I grew older, as I became a young man myself, I sought out my father to make connection with my dad. And it went well at first, but I think my father treated me more like a friend of his. And I ended up spending time with him, and he had some unhealthy behaviors that I fell victim to, and, found myself indulging in some of his bad habits. And, a little bit into that, I found myself exposed to drugs, to crack cocaine in my early 20s, and I was introduced to it by my father. And
Wow.
yes, and 3 years into that, I landed myself in a drug rehab program for 18 months because of the addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And fast forward, after I completed the drug program, I reconnected with my father again to start having conversations around sobriety and
Mm-hmm.
healing and past wounds.
Yes.
And I think I was maybe 5 or 6 years into my sobriety, and my father and I were having a conversation in his
Mm-hmm.
kitchen. And he walked up to me and he kissed me on my forehead and told me that he loved me. And it blew me away. I kind of stood there in shock and didn't say anything, and we just kept on doing what we were doing. But 3 months after that, he passed away.
Mm.
And we didn't know he was sick, and he kind of kept it to himself, but he passed away. So it was very bittersweet for me to have that validation and finally get the recognition and the confirmation and validation I was looking for from my father, but then have him taken away from me
Yes.
so quickly after we have begun to repair and heal. And so the year after he passed away, I moved to Denver, Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
and embarked on this mission because I said that I would never do what my children to experience what I experienced with my father that I
Mm-hmm.
experienced. So I wanted to make sure that going forward, when I had children and had a family, that I was sure that I would be engaged, I would be connected to my children. They will grow up in a loving household, and they would feel loved. They would feel the love from me as their father. And to teach other men the same thing, that, the importance of engaging with their children so that other children wouldn't have to go through that same experience, because, statistics show that kids do better when their fathers are involved in their lives. So statistically, kids do better in school. Kids do better with their mental health. Kids do better with not picking up drugs and alcohol when a healthy father is engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Kids do better with monitoring their own emotions and their
Mm-hmm.
own mental health when a father is engaged, when both parents are engaged. And so I didn't have those things. And I had to learn those things. And I had to look for other men, other healthy men who were healthy enough to teach me what it was to be a man, about healthy masculinity. So I started an organization called Urban Colors Fatherhood Experience.
Mm-hmm.
To actually promote this work and to teach men how to advocate for themselves, to tell the stories of men who turned their lives around, who took their circumstances and took their mess and turned it into a powerful message, because every fruit has a root and every symptom
has a root. Yes, sir.
Cause. So we wanted to get to the root of
Yes.
why men were struggling and suffering in silence, and find out what the symptom was, not the cause, but the symptoms. And, doing this work, I've identified some things that stood out around symptoms, and
Okay.
there are a lot.
Dwayne,
Yes.
before we dive deep into the work, as I know the first part was about you. I wanted you to share your story and tell us like who you are, where you're from, and what are your experiences. But in just listening to you, I kept hearing the passion that you have with this work, that you couldn't really stop. You just like had to spill it out, that this is what I do. I could feel the excitement. But what I want to ask you is that what is it in your childhood that really triggered this for you? What is it? What experiences did you have in your childhood that made you like concentrate, do everything that you can do right now to help fathers? So in a word, why fatherhood? Because I know you are a talented human being. You are a powerful speaker. You are an author. You are a coach, a leadership coach, but yet you focus on fatherhood. Why?
Yeah. Because I wanted to be seen by my father. I wanted to be acknowledged by my father as a young man. My mother loved me and she did a fantastic job, but there's something about your father loving you and wrapping his arms around you and hearing the words, "I love you," and feeling his lips on your forehead. As men, we're taught to compartmentalize those things, to not express those things, not express your emotions. But that's what some of the reasons why men struggle so much, because they hold their emotions inside. And I
That
knew
is true.
as a young man, something was missing. And I held him hostage for a long time because of what I experienced with him. But I also realized that after doing my research that my father was not raised by his father, and his father's father was not raised by his father. So
So
going
basically,
back,
it went through generations.
it went through generations. It was
Hmm.
passed down. What's not healed is passed down, right?
What is not healed is passed down. Wow, I heard you say this before.
And when I got the message is when
Hmm.
he passed away, and I said, "Wow, that was the first and the last kiss I ever got from my father." And now going forward, how do I
Hmm.
take this message forward and remind fathers the importance of loving your children and being in their lives and
Hmm.
engaging and connecting with them, because it does something for us as men as
Yes.
well. You know, the younger a man is connected to his children, when his children are born,
Hmm.
neurologically, it does something to our brains. You
Wow.
know, it makes us more loving and more nurturing. So, you know, when I talk to young parents or any teenage
Hmm.
parent or men, young adult men who have their children, I say, get involved. Parenting starts as soon as she becomes pregnant. It doesn't
Hmm.
start when she has the baby, because you
Hmm.
need to engage with her, because you both made that child, and you need to connect with that child, and it will help you to become more nurturing and
Hmm.
loving. So when that child is born, you already have the seeds planted in you, you know. But the longer you stay disengaged from your children, the harder it
Hmm.
is to re-engage with your children. And then, you know, we are also passing those traumas down as well. So that you know, that was the long answer, but that was the reason why
Hmm.
I said you
Hmm.
need to go out and you need to talk to men about this, because if it impacted me like that, I know it impacted many other men who grew up in fatherless homes, or in homes where dads were there, but the dads weren't emotionally present.
That word impact that you used earlier is actually our theme in this season. We are sharing stories of impact, and that's the reason why I wanted to ask you: is there any story that vividly stood out for you in your work in the fatherhood space? What have you done, or what story can you tell us where somebody has been really impacted, or I would say even communities have been impacted by your work in the fatherhood space?
Communities abroad, this work has taken me from local communities
Mhm.
to national exposure to
Wow.
international exposure. I had no idea that this was going to be the work that I'd be doing for the rest of my life, and have been it has been so rewarding just to meet with men who truly love their children, who were not connected to their children, and
Mm.
and helping them and guiding them and walking them through the journey on how to heal broken relationships with their children, how to
Mm.
heal relationships with the mother of their children. You know,
Okay.
I've not worked with one father who has said, "I don't love my children." You know, they all love their children.
Absolutely.
From correctional facilities. You know, I've heard fathers, the impact that we've had, you know, with dads in correctional facilities, who say that
Mhm.
if I only had a father in my life, I wouldn't be sitting here in this prison cell.
Oh my
Because,
gosh.
you know, and women as well. You know, I've talked to women who said, I wish their father would have been more involved in their life, because I can't be mommy and daddy
And
at the
that at the
same
same
time,
time. You're
you know.
absolutely right.
But the message that I send, talk to fathers about, is like, you were a man before you stepped into the fatherhood role.
That is true.
Parenting is a role, the parenting role,
Hmm.
mommy and daddy. But before you were mommy and daddy, you were man and woman. You have your
Hmm.
own story and your own issues and your own things that you have to address. But if you
Hmm.
don't address them when you do have a family, that's where it gets passed down, because you haven't
Hmm.
addressed your own challenges. So
Hmm.
that's where the transformation of the mindset comes. Thinking differently. Your values are differently. Your mental, emotional, and spiritual being is differently. You move differently when you change your mindset, it's the letting go of your old habits and your old ways.
Mm.
Now that I found out what happened with my father, I said, the buck stops here with me. I'm going to break this cycle in my own family legacy, and so that it's not passed down any longer. So my children, especially my three younger sons, as they became when they were born, I kissed and hugged them all the way until they left home. So they were 18, 19 years old. I was hugging and kissing on them, and they would ask me, Daddy, why do you do that so much? They were like 16, 17 years old. I was still kissing and hugging on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it's because I didn't get that from my father.
Wow.
I don't want you to
have
ever have to, I don't want them to ever have to want that or say that they never got that from me. So I showered them with hugs and kisses and love. And now that they've had their own children, I see them doing the same thing I did with them when they were young. I see them doing that with their children now. And I just watch it and I take pictures of it and I see them hugging and kissing their children. And I just say to myself, we broke that cycle. So we're not repeating that cycle in this generation,
Wow. That is so interesting. Listening to you, I was thinking about this. So then the work in the fatherhood space is not just like talking to fathers about taking their responsibilities, but it also involves a mindset change, because I saw one of your program where you talked about the 21 days to walk into your purpose. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So the 21-day fatherhood walk in your purpose is for fathers, but it's for anyone who wants to take the journey. Really, it's a way of transforming your mindset, unlocking your full potential, and reshape the way that you interact with your children. With some specific strategies each for 21 days. We believe that 21 days is what you need to change to create a new mindset. So each day has a activity that fathers should do to help them better engage with their children, interact with their children on a deeper level, not on a surface level, on a deeper level, getting to know their child, getting to immerse themselves in their child's world so they can be a better father.
Wow.
And for 21 days, they do each exercise. They write down, they take notes, they journal their notes. They'll work with me one-on-one and in group setting to discuss the activity that they did that day and help address any questions or any suggestions that I may want to offer to them to help them to, improve on those relationships. And it really is the relationship with yourself. You have to have a healthy relationship with yourself before you can have a healthy relationship with anybody else.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Like, first things first. I mean, there has to be awareness first. First of all, to recognize that there is a problem. But also, once you understand what the problem is, you start by fixing yourself up before you can reach out to anybody. And I think this will lead me to my next question here, which is like, if somebody was watching you right now and they're interested in working with you, they'll be like, do you offer services on just one-on-one, or do you work with organizations? Can you touch on that a little bit and talk to us more deeply about your organization, like from start to where it is right now, and which organizations or which communities are your partners in this work?
I don't think we have enough time to mention all those organizations who
Let's mention a few
who I've worked with in the past, but the program is more than a fatherhood program.
Okay.
Which makes it, and that's what makes us stand out from other fatherhood programs. It's a transformational movement that really reshapes the way fathers and families and institutions interact with each other. So we're not just working with fathers, we're working with the institutions and the agencies, service providers, healthcare providers, schools, that serve fathers, that serve families. So we help those institutions also and train them so that they know how to better engage and create father-friendly environments and really welcome fathers into those spaces where families are. Because, when we talk about family prosperity, we need to have that in that conversation as well.
That is true.
So one of our programs is Fathers in Education, is working with the school systems, the school districts, and training their staff on how to create robust fatherhood engagement programs and systems so that fathers come and they keep coming back because they feel welcomed and they feel used, that they can be used. They feel validated. And they have a place in the school. It's really calling those men to action. But our program started 18 years ago. The nonprofit started 18 years ago. I've been in the business for over 25. Urban Colors started 18 years ago. And we started in a recreation center and we wanted to be in a recreation center because we didn't want to wait for fathers to come to us. We went to where the fathers were, which was in the gym, working out, playing basketball, swimming. And we set up shop there and welcomed dads in and fed them. And this had general conversations. It was light. It was really connecting with people. We weren't trying to shove the program down their throats. We wanted it to genuine and authentic. For them to want to engage with us, because no one wants to get in something that they feel like someone's pushing them into. I wanted them to feel like, hey, you know what? There's something there that I can get from it, and I want to learn more, and I feel good about what the information that they shared and talked about. We tailored just like Mentium. This is why I'm here with Mentium, because we'll
talk about Mentium in a little bit.
Oh yeah, this is exciting. This leads right into it because it's tailoring it to people's specific needs. There's no one size fits all.
Absolutely.
And so coming into that fatherhood space, we tailor programs to support individuals, to support individual communities.
Yes.
Because we weren't providing services to the urban community like we were providing to the suburban communities. Because there's a different demographic, there's a different culture, a different class. So you can't say one size fits all in this. You have to talk to the community and find out what their needs are, and you meet their needs, because they're different pain points that they're dealing with. So, our commitment is to growth, self-improvement, and empowerment, not just ideas, but actionable, life-changing experiences.
So, Dwayne, let me interject this. In Leadership Africa, when we were talking about going and meeting the stakeholders, it is something that you've already experienced then, because you actually went toward the fathers and not waiting for them to come to you. You ask them what they need instead of trying to pretend that you have the solution for them. Most organizations, I think that's where the problem is right now. They will impose solutions to communities without even knowing their needs.
And that's why they don't work. Because a lot of programs, organizations think, well, if we build it, they're going to come. And then when they don't come, they say, oh, well, we created this, but the fathers didn't come. It's like, well, what else did you do? Did you engage with them? Or did you go out and recruit them? Did you go to where they were at? No, or did you just create it and sit back and blame it on saying, well, we created it, but they didn't show up? You can't do that.
Wow.
And you have to change your approach, because this is about building relationships.
Absolutely.
It's all about building relationships. It makes a difference on who shows up, who comes back, who tells somebody else, that you do good work and they help you transform your life, or you help someone get over the hump and help them reconnect with their children, and and they're grateful of that. And, we're here to serve. So,
wow.
You can't take credit for God's work.
I think what I'm hearing you say is, like, in order for impact to exist in any work, we need to pay attention to two terms, and it is one size fits all and tailoring. Like, you cannot have a one size fits all approach. You got to tailor your work to the community, to the people that you were working with. And the example that I know best of anything is like public speaking. You got to know your audience. Number one, you got to tailor your speech to your audience.
Yes.
And I would always share this with people. A speech needs to be written from the seats and not from the podium.
Yeah.
So then exactly that's your approach in working with fathers then.
And the other part of that is seeing, not just saying you understand what they're going through, but I was told by one father that why he didn't go to a number of programs. And he said, Dwayne, they just didn't get it.
Yes.
You know, they had the services, they had the resources, but the connection, there was no connection with them. They didn't see my problem as their problem. They didn't put themselves in my shoes.
Yes.
They just wanted to help and say, I don't need the help. I need you to understand what I'm going through, and then the help will come. But some people feel like they need to come and save other people.
Absolutely.
But you can lead it, that's like teaching a person how to fish or fishing for them. We want to teach people how to fish so they can fish for themselves, not provide the fish to them and they don't have to do the work. You have to do the work. So put yourself in my shoes, understand my situation and why I'm in this situation, and then maybe we can talk deeper, and I'll open up to you because now you understand.
Look, there's a saying like, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Absolutely.
So if you're just coming to me with the attitude of, I can save you, I know exactly how you feel. And we hear that a lot when you get on a customer service phone call. The first thing they tell you, I understand your frustration. I mean, they keep repeating that without even knowing what the problem is.
Right.
So if you come to me with that attitude, I'm like, hey, I don't think you get it. And that's exactly what fathers are saying. Just because we are in a situation doesn't mean that you know everything, that your solution that you read in a textbook can be applied to our realities. It doesn't work that way, does it?
We have to be good. We have to be good listeners. I think getting into this work, I've become more patient. I've become a better listener.
Absolutely.
Because I know what we're capable of doing. I know what I'm capable of doing, but it's the stories. It's the listening to the people, the father, the families, sharing their stories and realizing that, you know what, we're all in this together. Some of us are just a little bit further ahead of the curve and some of us a little bit behind. I'm just a little bit ahead of the curve than someone else. I might have a little bit more information.
Absolutely.
But that's what it's here for. You can't keep it unless you give it away. So I'm giving it away. I'm sharing my stories to show that it can be done. I went from drugs to being internationally recognized as a fatherhood advocate and influencer.
Look at that! Wow.
I'm 36 years drug free.
Wow.
So I'm like, I never would have thought. I'm just in so much gratitude and to let people know that, your circumstances are your circumstances. These are the cards that you've been dealt. Play the cards, play the hand you have.
Yes.
And just watch what transforms. It's not about a destination. It's about a journey, and if you're so fast to get to the end of the journey and you don't enjoy the process, you've missed all the gems, all your growth, all your transformation. That right there, that's powerful.
It is.
That's legacy stuff. Say in the end, I've always been told, my mother told me, she said, when you leave this earth, you can't take any of this with you.
That is true.
You've never seen a U-Haul behind a hearse.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So you have to give it away. And when people realize that's what we're here to do, to help one another, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm at Mentium.
Now, isn't it the same thing as saying the only thing you truly own are the good deeds that you did?
Yes.
Like things or whatever you do for people is truly what you own, because whatever else, you leave it here and some other people will use it. So then what you really own is the service that you render to people, the good deeds that you do on this earth. But I
That's
hear you say a lot transformation.
mhm.
What does it take? What type of work does it take for you to transform somebody?
It's the transformation is to get people to listen to their own story. If people will record their story and hear themselves talking about what they've gone through, and hear themselves talking about that, and then realizing that, is this how you want it to end? That was then, and now, and you're still here. So you woke up this morning, you still have an opportunity to turn things around. What are the steps that you need to take? What are the things that you need to heal, and what are the things you need to do to let go of? Because a lot of us are carrying so much baggage. We need to put it down. You can only control what you can control. And really, we don't control a lot. Sometimes it takes for sitting still, and for those people who are in faith, pray, meditate, and visualize. We're all creators. We create our own world, our own circumstances. We can destroy ourselves or build ourselves up based on what we put in our minds, what we choose to digest, what we choose to listen to, and what we choose to eat, because food is medicine. All those things play a part on your health and well-being.
Absolutely.
And how you think. It's really, like, again, mindset is changing the way that you think and you see yourself, and not listen to what other people have to say about you. What are you saying about you that needs to change?
That part, you see, I always tell people that the most important conversations that we will ever have in our lives are the ones that we have with ourselves. Earlier you mentioned, when I asked about transformation, you said we're having people listen to their own stories. And then it reminds me of a saying that goes like this: our stories are the ladders upon which we climb to our successes. So then we should never undermine or minimize or belittle or what have you our story, because it is ours.
Right.
We cannot tell somebody else's story and pretend that it will do any good to us. But we should be, powerful enough or believe in ourselves enough to share our stories, because there is always something in there that will not only teach us a lesson, but serve somebody else. So then stories are very, very powerful in your line of work.
I didn't realize how powerful the story was of my father kissing me and telling me that he loved me, because I've told that story hundreds of times on stage and in group and workshops. And every time I tell that story, the men just really resonate with that. So
that's what I'm talking about.
And I think that's one of the things that pull them in, that, I'm being genuine, but realizing that, wow, that's a powerful story. And for a long time, when I told it, every time I would tell it, I would get emotional myself as soon as I started talking about it. And that's how I knew that I had to heal from that, and I had to let it go, because
absolutely,
so I had to release it.
I don't think there is anything that can show authenticity better than telling your own story.
Yes.
Because whatever it is that you share, it might be like you heard it from somewhere else, or it might belong to this person or that person, but yourself telling your story about your father kissing you on the forehead just lays a groundwork for you to actually enter into the fatherhood space and do the work that you do.
Yes.
I mean, were it not for that incident, maybe you would have never, had the chance to actually go after this work, because it might not mean that much to you. But because you were longing for that kiss, you were longing for that hug from your father, that when you get it, you promise to yourself that your sons will never have to go through something like this.
Absolutely. And I began to take pictures, and I want to call men, to action and take pictures of you kissing your son. I have a picture of me kissing my son while my son is holding his son, and he's kissing his.
Is beautiful. Can I see that
my
picture,
son,
man?
he's kissing his son. So it's 3 generations. I said, I need to put that out there and call men to action and say, you need to take pictures of you kissing your child. If you have a grandchild, it needs to be all 3 of you, because they're showing the healing, the power of just a kiss.
Look, Dwayne, I got to share this with you. I know I'm interviewing you, but you touch a chord with me. Like, there is something really powerful in what you were saying, because us Africans, and I don't want to generalize here, but I would say most African would hear me and they will agree with me on this. We are not very strong in hugging and kissing our own children and tell them that we love them. This is just a fact. I mean, maybe it is some part of Africa, but I can speak for myself. I can speak for men from Senegal. We didn't grow up with that mentality that, like, our father had to hug us and kiss us and said, "I love you." We just didn't know that. Mm-hmm. Personally, I don't think I've ever experienced it. So this is the honest truth.
Wow.
But like me sitting across you here, and when you say, I get the chills because I have a son of 15-year-old, and maybe I need to do more of that. And I'm taking these lessons from you. So if I'm talking about stories of impact, you're already having a big impact on me right now, listening to you. But Dwayne, we are transitioning into, I'm not saying that's my favorite section, but I'm just saying that with the work that you are doing right now, you are having the opportunity to take it to the next level, which means that you are already speaking internationally, but now you have a space in the Mentium Institute where you can actually run the same programs with fathers around the globe. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So the event, we have an event coming up on June 7th.
June 7th.
June 7th, Global
2025.
2025, June 7th, exactly. 2025 from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Okay.
Global Fathers United. It's a virtual summit that's going to be hosted on the Mentium platform. And it's our first annual signature event where we're inviting fathers, institutions, agencies, service providers, families, anybody who's working with fathers and serving fathers in the community. It's packed full of presenters and keynotes nationally and internationally to talk about the different areas of fatherhood, where we know what a lot of the challenge and barriers are, but something that we want to do differently is create an action plan of things that people can take back to their community that they can implement immediately. Fathers can implement it in their families. Agencies can implement it in their programs. We have Kenneth Broswell, who from Fathers Incorporated, who's a fatherhood guru nationally here. James Rodriguez from Fathers and Families Coalition of America. We have several speakers from Equimundo, which is an international fatherhood organization. And they have chapters all over the world. And these are people who, individuals and organizations I've worked with for a number of years.
Okay.
And provided services or articles or insights, programming to. And this is really the first time that I've asked for any support to help with this event. So I'm just blown away of the support that I've gotten to launch this event. Everybody is excited about sharing. We even have a guy, his name is Juan. He's has a program called Dad to Doula. We're talking about fathers in maternal health, in maternal care, where we get fathers more engaged with their children before they're born and at birth, so they can be part of the birthing process.
Okay.
Like I said, neurologically, we want to get dads engaged and involved as early as possible to connect with their children. So this event, it's $49 per ticket. But
Okay.
I tell you, it's well worth it. You're going to get so much more than you expected. We're just excited. We're truly excited. The momentum is building. You can get your tickets on Eventbrite, and in a couple of weeks, we'll be opening up for to purchase your tickets for attendees. But
Mhm.
yeah, I'm just grateful that you and Mentium has allowed us to come on and use your space
What do you
to,
mean allow us? You're part of this. We're not allowing you. You are
you
taking
know,
what belongs to you, my brother.
I've always wanted to do a virtual fatherhood event,
Yes.
and just didn't know the direction I was going to take. And then when the opportunity to partner with you and Mentium came up, I was just floored.
Okay, Dwayne, you were going to make me tell a story here. You remember the first time we met,
Yes.
and I said there is a reason why we met. There's a reason. We didn't know it, but it came through, public speaking. You came and attending the class, and the first thing I said was like, "What are you doing here?" Because it's not to learn anything from me. You are a way more powerful speaker, but you were there in that space for 12 weeks with us. And I clearly remember one day you got up and did a presentation that wowed everybody in the room. And we were even like very emotional the way you acted out that kiss from your father. And I said, man, I know we are to do something together. We can't just put our fingers on it right now. But look at us. Look at
Here
where we ended. At that moment, Mentium was not born.
Right.
And today it is right here. And you were talking about hosting a world summit, an international fatherhood summit in Mentium. But that's not only what you were doing with Mentium. You are actually hosting a space in there where people can directly work with you, whether
Yes.
it is individuals, whether it is organizations, it is communities. They can all contact you through there and even like send their people, their members
Yes.
into your Mentium space for you to work with them. Can you tell me a little bit about?
So the space will allow for a podcast. For one, we have a podcast called Dad Seated at the Table.
Dad seated at the table.
Dad
I
seated
love
at the
that name. And
Well,
father
well,
seated at the table. Yes.
yes, Father Seated at the Table. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yes.
I'm so excited about that one. But that will allow us to interview different people in the fatherhood space
Yes.
as well, doing one-on-one interviews, but also groups of fathers to come into a space and just have a conversation. It doesn't matter where they're at in the world, but this is how we connect us as a united front. And that's how we create a movement of fatherhood engagement and the value of fatherhood by, no, it's just not happening over here or over there. This is impacting fathers internationally around. It's great to have those different perspectives from diverse backgrounds, different cultures and traditions, and listen to what father is and how they were raised in that, and then share insights and support one another. Fathers, we suffer in silence. So be able to bring men together at the table, as Papa Dia says, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, right? We want to
Yes.
have men there, and just connecting with each other. The other space is the 21-day Fathers Walk in Your Purpose,
Mhm.
and then we have the global event. But we are creating other programs and
Absolutely.
curriculum and different events and activities for people to come on. What I'd like to do is, I hate creating things and then giving it to people. I want the community's feedback. So one of the things that
Absolutely.
we're going to be doing
That
is
is the best
engaging
way
with
to
our
do it.
community in our community spaces, and then from those community spaces, we're going to tailor programs around what people are talking about as well. I think that's how you stay cutting edge.
Agreed. I heard you say something earlier. Fathers suffer in silence. Now, I don't know if you know a young lady named Tahani Lokman.
Yes.
Tahani, I think she's the first one that I heard from that term. I think she's running an organization called Something with Fathers. And then that's exactly the same term that you used one time. Like fathers, we are so good at hiding our pain, at hiding our sufferings. Most of us do suffer in silence. And then that coming from a lady, when I heard that, it really made a very strong impact on me. Even though I know it, but hearing it from a different gender was just like stronger than if you said it to me, because I'm like, well, we're just supporting each other.
I was going to mention on top of that, it's like when you talk to a man and a woman asks a man to express his feelings, you can tell if he was raised to shelter his feelings or to express his feelings. Because if a man says, I don't want to talk about it, and he just closes up, it's like, okay, when he was younger, maybe he was taught that showing his feelings made him weak. Men are not supposed to be weak. Men are supposed to be strong. You're supposed to handle and deal with it. So as a young man, young boy, if you're told to stop crying every time you cry and to stop whining and stop,
that's the term, stop whining.
Your feelings are not validated. So when you grow up and you want to express it, you don't agree with something and you really want to express yourself, and someone says, why won't you express yourself? I know you're hurt, and they don't know how to express what they're feeling because they're not in tune with their emotions. So it comes out as anger and frustration and violence and drug abuse, domestic violence. So it comes out in other ways that are usually detrimental to the family.
That is true. Well, Dwayne, I want to thank you so very much for spending this almost an hour or so discussing fatherhood. I think myself, I've learned a lot through you today. But I would say, if there is anything that you would like to add that I didn't ask you, you are more than welcome to share this now.
Well, I would just say that I'm so grateful to be a part of the Mentium family. This space aligns perfectly with my mission, my assignment of unlocking human potential and driving personal growth. It aligns perfectly because fatherhood is one of the most impactful leadership roles that a man can have. By you hosting these initiatives and these programs, we're creating opportunities for transformation for individuals, for families. We're guiding people to where they want to be or where they're meant to be. If they don't know where they want to be, by the time they come through Mentium, they will know where they're meant to be.
That is beautiful. Well, there you have it, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us one more time on Mentium. As you know, this is just the tip of the iceberg. This man is doing a tremendous work, and I don't want you to miss a bit of it. Join us on June 7th for a global initiative that he's holding with his fatherhood space on Mentium. As you heard it, there will be a lot of people, renowned speakers from all over the world who will come and join us into this virtual summit. They can teach you a thing or two about how to become a better father, how to become a better leader in your own household. So ladies, you are also welcome to join us because we cannot do anything without you. So you are invited in the first row. Thank you so much.